Amazing rescue, officer and his loyal German shepherd expose hidden danger to save a little girl. In the heart of a quaint, tree-lined suburb, Officer Mike Reynolds stood guard at the annual summer picnic, taking in the laughter that filled the air and warmed his spirit. Children dashed across the grass, their joy contagious, while the scent of freshly grilled hot dogs danced on the breeze. As he watched his spirited 8-year-old daughter, Lily, toss a ball for Rex, his devoted German shepherd, he felt a swelling pride. This was his world, a community filled with love, support, and family values. But beneath that surface shimmered an unsettling pulse he couldn't shake. Just moments before, Mike had overheard a hushed whisper among a group of shadowy figures behind the concession stand. Their words sent chills racing down his spine. Something sinister was afoot, and the innocents of this gathered community were at risk. He shook his head, dismissing these troubling thoughts as paranoia. But deep down, the instinct to protect his daughter overshadowed all else. After all, he was a cop with a mission to safeguard his hometown. Lily's laughter pierced through his balance of duty and dread. "Daddy! Watch me!" she shouted, her eyes sparkling with mischief as she beckoned him to join her. The way she radiated pure joy made Mike's heart swell. He knelt down. "I'm watching, kiddo." Just then, Rex bounded back, wagging his tail, and together they threw the ball. Everything felt right, just a father, a daughter, and their loyal dog enjoying the sun. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the day wore on, the energy shifted. Tension crackled in the air, heightening with every unease that danced at the edges of his consciousness. Then, panic made his heart drop. Lily was gone. One moment she had been right there, and the next, the crowd loomed large and daunting. Time fractured into painful seconds as he frantically called her name, desperation clawing at his chest. "Lily! Where are you?" Rex perked up, his nose twitching. They raced through the growing crowd, a silhouette of determination and fear united. Mike's mind spiraled. Who would take his daughter? The laughter of children now felt like ominous echoes of innocence stolen. With every person passing, Mike felt their eyes on him. Some glimmered with judgment, others showed concern. But all he could think of was weighing the scales of paternal love against the shadows of threat creeping ever closer. This isn't just about me, Mike thought, steeling himself as he combed through the throng. Each face passed held the potential for hidden threats, masking intentions that could shatter his world. The clock ticked ominously, with dusk approaching, and fear surged through him like a crashing wave. Amidst the urgency, Mike's resolve grew stronger. He could feel the pulse of his community surrounding him. They were more than neighbors, they were family, bound by shared laughter and heartache. As he plunged deeper into the thrumming heart of the park, the stakes escalated, and he knew this was only the beginning of a battle that would ultimately define the essence of family, bravery, and love against the encroaching darkness that threatened it all. Panic surged through Mike as he pressed forward, his heart racing louder than the drum of the celebration around him. The laughter that once brought him joy became a haunting backdrop to his frantic search. "Lily!" he cried, desperation spilling from his voice. He was no longer just a father, he was a man on a mission, a protector driven by primal instinct. Rex, his faithful companion, never left his side. The dog sniffed the air, his ears perked for any sound of the little girl's laughter. Mike watched as the dog pushed through the crowd, senses heightened. Together, they frantically scoured the vicinity, a maze of booths, families, and smiling faces. The tension around him felt suffocating. As they rounded the edge of the park, Mike's eyes narrowed on a shadowy figure lingering behind the cotton candy cart. His gut twisted. The unease he had felt earlier surged back, the feeling that this person didn't belong, that they were a threat to the safety of the day. Without thinking, he surged forward, Rex at his heel, determined to confront whatever darkness lay in wait. "Hey!" Mike called out, his voice firm, startling the figure. They turned, and for a brief moment, stood frozen, eyes wide. The stranger darted away, slipping past startled festival-goers. Mike lifted his foot to chase after them when Rex pulled back, barking fiercely, as though sensing something Mike hadn't yet grasped. "Rex, wait!" he shouted, and the dog halted, torn between loyalty and instinct. Mike felt his pulse quicken. He needed to decide whether to follow the figure or keep looking for Lily. "What do I do?" he whispered, anxiety coiling tightly in his chest. Suddenly, from behind the concession stand, he heard a familiar giggle, not just any giggle, but Lily's. His heart leaped. Without a second thought, he sprinted toward the sound. Rex raced beside him, both driven by a singular goal. As Mike rounded the corner, there she was. Lily, standing atop a small wooden crate, waving around a handful of colorful balloons she had somehow managed to grab. She looked like a miniature queen of the picnic, completely oblivious to the chaos unfolding mere feet away. Relief washed over him like a flood, a powerful tide that nearly brought him to his knees. "Lily!" he gasped, scooping her up into his arms. She squealed in joy, oblivious to the worry she had just caused. "You scared me. I thought you'd vanished." He hugged her tight, feeling the warmth of her small body against his chest, a lifeline pulling him back from the brink of panic. "I just wanted some balloons, Daddy." "Look!" she exclaimed, beaming with pride. Her joy was infectious, but the shadowy figure still clung to his thoughts. As he gently set her down, he could see the tension ease on his daughter's face. But it was still there, gnawing at him, the worry of what hadn't been addressed or discovered. "Did you see anyone strange around here?" Mike asked, a protective edge to his voice. Lily thought for a moment, tilting her head, then shrugged. "Just people having fun, Daddy. Can we eat now?" Her innocent request broke through his concerns like sunshine piercing clouds. Before he could respond, Rex barked again, signaling someone nearby. Mike turned just as a commotion erupted across the field. The figure he had seen earlier had returned, but this time, it wasn't just lurking. It stood, lurking near the edge of the crowd, its eyes fixated on them. "What do you want?" Mike's voice boomed, instinctively protective as he stood in front of Lily, his stance shifting into that of a guardian, ready to defend. But as the figure stepped forward, the true nature of the threat slithered into view. Mike felt the weight of the moment crash down upon him. What lay ahead would not just challenge his resolve, but threaten everything he held dear. "Daddy, I'm scared," Lily whispered, clinging to his leg as he faced down whatever danger awaited. With that, Mike's heart thundered in his ears. He realized this fight was just beginning. What would he have to confront to protect his family? The figure pushed through the crowd, and Mike's instincts screamed for action. His mind raced, assessing the rapidly changing scene. Behind him, Lily's tiny hand tightened around his leg, trembling with fear. "Stay close to me," he whispered, bending down to meet her gaze. The innocence in her wide eyes brought a surge of resolve. Whatever this stranger meant to do, he would not let it harm Lily. As the figure neared, Mike's heart ached with uncertainty. The figure was tall and lean, their face obscured by the shadows. It took another step forward, and the crowd began to murmur. It was a tension-filled moment, punctuated by the distant sounds of laughter and festivity. People were too preoccupied to notice the danger looming over them. "Sir, can I help you?" Mike called out, trying to keep his voice steady. The figure paused, and for a moment, everything fell silent. The crowd, once lively, felt like it was holding its breath. Then, the figure spoke, a voice low and gravelly. "I'm looking for something, or someone." They glanced at Lily, and Mike felt rage boil within him. Why are you looking at her?" he demanded, stepping protectively in front of his daughter. "Just mind your business," the figure replied hastily, but there was a flicker of fear in their eyes. Rex barked, a fierce warning that made the figure flinch. This was no ordinary day at the park, it was now a defensive stand, and Mike could feel the adrenaline coursing through his veins. The festival lights twinkled like stars above them, unaware of the threat that hovered close. Lily's grip tightened. "Daddy," she whimpered. Her voice pierced through the chaos and brought Mike's focus back. Here was his priority, the reason he fought. "Everything's okay, honey. I'm here," he promised, even as the intensity of the moment spiraled. He felt like a lion defending his cub, raw and filled with protective instinct. Cautiously, he took a step forward. "I don't know what you want, but you need to leave. This is a family event, and you're not welcome here." His voice held a firmness he didn't quite feel, but he had to project strength. For a tense moment, the figure hesitated. Mike could almost see the calculations running through their mind. Should they back down or push through? Just as the tension reached a breaking point, Rex charged forward, barking powerfully. Mike had never seen the dog react with such intensity. It was as if a switch flipped, and Rex, the good-natured companion, had transformed into a fierce protector. "Rex, no!" Mike called, but the dog didn't stop. The towering figure stumbled back, shock clear in their expression. "Good boy, Rex," Mike encouraged, cementing his place as protector. At that moment, the chaos around them erupted into frenzied movement as festival-goers noticed the scene unfolding. Uncertainty and fear rippled through the air, sparking panic in the crowd. "Someone help!" Mike shouted, as heads turned towards them. "This person is acting suspiciously." But just as support appeared on the horizon, a loud crash echoed from a nearby booth, pulling attention away. Laughter turned into screams, and children cried. Mike's heart sank as chaos spread like wildfire. Lily's eyes went wide with fear, reflecting the panic surrounding them. "Daddy!" she shrieked, clawing at his leg as he turned, trying to catch a glimpse of the commotion. "They couldn't stay here." The figure behind him seemed undeterred and now more emboldened. Would they strike while everyone was distracted? "No!" he bellowed, feeling anger flare within him again. He wouldn't let this go. Not when Lily was watching, not when fear slithered into every soul around them. In the tumult, Mike felt a shift in the air. Whatever darkness lurked, it was closer than ever before. He had to protect his daughter, to shield her from whatever was about to unfold. As he positioned himself sturdily, facing the looming dangers, the question hung in the air: what would happen next? Would he hold fast against the rising storm? Mike's heart pounded fiercely in his chest. The crash from the booth echoed painfully in his ears, drowning out the laughter that had filled the festival just moments ago. Every instinct screamed to keep moving, to find a way out of the chaos, but not without Lily. "Stay here," he commanded fiercely, glancing down at her. Lily's small face was pale, eyes shadowed with terror. She looked up at him, her trust unwavering, as if his courage could shield her from the mounting dread. "I'm scared, Daddy," she whispered, her voice small against the clamoring chaos. "Me too, Pumpkin," he murmured just above a whisper, letting that truth hang in the air for a moment. But fear had no room to take seed in his heart. He looked back to the figure, adrenaline sharpening his senses. Rex stood at attention, a muscular silhouette reflecting Mike's fierce determination. He could feel the pulse of the crowd behind him, anxious energy gripping the air. People were starting to back away, leaving those who confronted danger alone, all eyes on the unfolding scene. Then the figure moved, squeezing through clusters of frightened festival-goers, gaining ground. Mike knew he needed to act fast. Controlled aggression surged through him, ignited by the responsibility to protect Lily. "Back off!" he shouted, stepping toward the figure, his words ringing like a declaration. "You don't belong here." The figure paused again, calculating, and Mike could almost see the indecision flickering through the shadows. Just then, someone joined the fray. A woman, older and braver than most, stepped out from the crowd. She held her phone aloft, a lifeline of light. "Someone call 911. She shouted, her voice clear and piercing. The crowd began to shift as people responded, murmuring, pulling their phones from pockets as a wave of urgency swept over them. The figure, realizing the attention they had drawn, seemed to falter for a split second. But then they straightened, slipping back into a cloak of bravado. "I'm just looking," they muttered, but their voice lacked conviction. "Not if it involves my daughter," Mike retorted, his own voice rising above the swell of fear. With every beat of his heart, anger combined with desperation. Suddenly, chaos erupted again. Another crash sounded closer, rippling through the crowd like a thunderstorm. Men and women shrieked, children cried, and Mike knew he had to get Lily out. He lowered himself to her level again, searching for resolve in her frightened eyes. "Lily, we need to move. Can you be brave for Daddy?" She nodded, the trust in her gaze nearly breaking him. "Okay, hold on tight, wear those pretty little feet out. We're running." With Lily clinging to his side, he pivoted away from the figure, who now seemed to shrink under the growing scrutiny of the onlookers. Mike ran, muscles taut with determination, toward the exit of the park. His mind raced, weighing options: find shelter, set up a barricade, protect Lily, but as they reached the park's edge, the clamor turned more sinister. Shouts of fright mingled with laughter that morphed into dread. The figure was following. "Watch out." A voice shouted from the crowd, but it was too late. Mike turned. A hand reached out from the mass, trying to grab him, but he twisted, pulling Lily deeper into his embrace as the sight of the figure transformed into a dark wave of intent. Just as they seemed to advance, a bright light flashed past. Rex dashed toward them, teeth bared, a guardian in the night. "Keep moving." Rex's presence calmed Mike slightly, but his heart still raced. How could they escape? Then, another boom ripped through the air, a flare of smoke erupting from the booth where the cartoonist had set up shop. Screams echoed, and citizens ducked for cover. "Lily! Cover your ears!" Mike yelled, shielding her small form as they ducked behind an overturned table. He couldn't let panic slip into his bones. His mind raced with thoughts. Rescue was a choice, not an outcome. Would it be enough? As the figure closed in, a faint realization dawned on Mike. He wasn't merely protecting his daughter, he was drawing lines that would change everything. Today would not just be about survival, it would be about discovery. What did the figure want? Who were they really? And, above all, could Mike rally to protect not just Lily, but the innocence of everyone around them? As uncertainty loomed closer than ever, Mike's breath quickened. Would this moment transform them all into rescue or ruin? Mike's muscles coiled, ready to move again, heart racing as he felt the weight of the chaos around him. He could barely breathe. The smoke hung heavy in the air, swirling and choking, mingling with the scent of fear. "Stay down, pumpkin," he urged Lily, pulling her closer. Her small body fit perfectly beneath his arm, and it ignited a protective fire within him. He could feel her little heart thumping rapidly against his side. He wanted nothing more than to shield her from everything that felt so very wrong. Rex circled around them, a blur of fur and instinct, snarling at the encroaching figure. Mike's trust surged as he realized Rex acted not just as a dog, but as a reassurance he didn't even know he needed. Then, clarity hit him. They couldn't hide forever. The figure looming nearby had to be confronted. Mike turned his attention back to the chaotic scene, a sea of uncertain faces that mirrored his own anxiety. "We can do this, we can't lose hope," he whispered to himself. "Daddy!" Lily's voice cracked, pulling him momentarily from his thoughts. "Yeah, honey?" He glanced down, his eyes searching for terror in hers. Instead, he found a flicker of resolve. "Can Rex help us?" she asked, and it struck him how innocent yet powerful that question was. You bet he can. In that instant, Mike's heart filled with determination. All right, we're going. Together. He stood up, abruptly straightening as hope flooded back into his veins. He turned to face the figure head-on. They were just a few yards away now, their identities still masked by the shadows and smoke. Hey! He yelled, voice booming over the roars of the frightened crowd. What do you want? You can't hurt us. The figure paused. For a fleeting moment, doubt shifted across their face, revealed briefly in the flickering light. But it was quickly swallowed by the bravado that had cloaked them before. Their hands, now visible, clenched into fists. The tension in the atmosphere sharpened, a knife's edge threatening to cut through the panic. Rex stood tall, barking with defiance, both a shield and a sword. Despite the tumult around them, Mike could feel the power of community rising as others began to join his call, people rising from their spots hid behind tables and stands, emboldened by his simple act of defiance. Get back. This isn't your show. Shouted a man in the crowd, rallying others to their cause. Yeah, leave them alone. Cried a woman, standing strong beside her partner, fists raised defiantly. The figure hesitated, and Mike sensed the shift. Their confidence was wearing thin. But in the back of his mind, he knew it wouldn't be enough. He had to push, just a little more. Lily, he whispered, leaning down close so only she could hear, when I say go, we run, okay? Can you do that? She nodded fiercely, eyes wide with determination that inspired Mike further. And just like that, the moment crystallized. It felt as if time slowed down, the din of chaos fading into the background. All together, everyone. Mike called, making sure Lily was securely nestled. On my count, we charge. Ready? 3, 2, 1, go. He shouted, adrenaline surging through his veins. They dashed forth, feet pounding the ground as they ran toward the figure and away from the chaos behind. Mike felt Lily's grip tighten as Rex charged alongside, a force of nature. The crowd erupted into movement, a mass of humanity united against fear. But just as they were about to reach safety, the figure lunged forward, desperation fueling their actions. Watch out! Mike screamed, but it was too late. The world warped around him as he braced for impact. Would they make it past the danger? What lay beyond this tense moment? Fate danced in the wind. Did courage prevail over cruelty, or would Mike face a different kind of reckoning as the truth tightened its grip on them all? The moment was a blur. The figure surged forward like a whirlwind, hands outstretched, and Mike's heart lurched. He felt every instinct scream at him to protect Lily, to shield her from whatever threat loomed in the shadows. Time stretched, a taut wire ready to snap, then, just as the figure reached them, Rex lunged. The German Shepherd was a force of nature, powerful, determined, and unyielding. With a fierce growl, he intercepted the figure, teeth bared. The sudden burst of energy startled them, their momentum faltering as surprise registered on their masked face. Now! Mike shouted, and in the chaos, he grasped Lily's wrist and pulled her along, not slowing nor looking back. They weaved through the chaos, darting around fallen debris and frightened faces, the other crowd members rallying behind them like an unwritten army. Stay close. He urged, but at that moment, there was no need. Lily mirrored his urgency, instinctively matching his pace. As they rounded a corner, Mike's gaze shifted to Rex, who had managed to keep the figure occupied with a cacophony of barking. With each growl, Rex seemed to chip away at the figure's confidence. Come on, buddy. Mike yelled, his heart swelling with pride for the dog that felt like family. Rex turned his head briefly, as if to say, I've got this. And then lunged again, the two locking in an intense standoff, but as they turned another corner, a loud crash echoed behind them, a sign that the figure was still pursuing them. Mike felt panic grasp at his insides. They needed to get somewhere safe, somewhere they could regroup and think. "Lily, look." Mike pointed to an open door of a nearby building. In there, he could see others rushing into the safety of the structure, taking refuge from the chaos outside. Without waiting for a response, he propelled them both toward the entrance. As he pushed the door open, a wave of warmth enveloped them. Inside, the atmosphere was starkly different, a sanctuary of calm amidst the storm outside. Hushed whispers filled the air as people hastily united in conversation, uncertainty painting their expressions. Rex followed closely, nudging Mike's leg, urging him to keep moving. They stumbled into a small break room, and Mike quickly scanned the room, seeking anything they could use for protection. "Is everyone all right?" A voice called from the corner, an older woman with flecks of gray in her hair, anxiety etched across her features. Mike recognized her from the crowd, a neighbor who had always offered a friendly smile. "Not all of us," he replied, urgency spiking in his voice. "We need to barricade the door. They're coming." A collective understanding washed over the room as everyone sprang to help, grabbing whatever furniture they could find. Mike's heart raced as he faced the door, Rex standing guard at his side, the dog's body tense with readiness. "Do you think it will hold?" Lily asked, her small hand clutching his tightly. Her voice trembled, breaking his heart. "It has to," he whispered, keeping his eyes fixed on the door, still feeling the weight of the situation. He didn't want to show fear, but inside, trepidation gnawed at him. They built a makeshift barricade and backed away, the tension palpable as they awaited what would come next. As shadows danced beneath the door, Mike felt a fire spark in his chest. He had to protect Lily at all costs, but what would it take to drive away the darkness threatening to break through? Suddenly, a loud bang reverberated against the door, shaking Mike's resolve. The smile he tried to give Lily was uneasy, his heart pounding like a war drum. What would their next move be? Would they face the darkness or find their way to safety? With reality closing in, he braced himself for the moment when the figures would break through and what secrets lay behind the masked intentions. The room fell silent. Fear hung thick in the air, like a fog that blurred the edges of hope. Each person in the small break room shared frightened glances, their breaths shallow and quick. Mike's heart raced as he faced the door, the throb of his pulse echoing in his ears. Rex's eyes were fierce, staring intently at the barricade, the dog's instincts in high gear. Another thump shook the wooden door, rattling the makeshift barricade they had cobbled together. Lily tugged on his sleeve, her eyes wide and searching. "What if they get in?" she whispered, her voice barely audible. Mike knelt, locking eyes with her. "Then we fight back," he said, trying to sound braver than he felt. "We stick together, all right? You've got me, and I've got you." He could feel the weight of his promise pressing against his chest. Rex barked again, a sharp, authoritative sound that cut through the thick tension. As the banging continued, the older woman stepped forward, determination flashing in her eyes despite her trembling hands. "We can't just wait here. What if they know we're in here?" She glanced at Mike, her brow furrowed. "We need to find a way out. Any other exits?" A murmur swept through the group as they explored the space, desperation coursing through them. Mike took stock of the room, old tables stacked against the walls, a small window that might be their salvation if they could dislodge it. "The window!" he exclaimed, pointing. "If we can open it, we might be able to escape quietly." With everyone focused on the window, the noise outside intensified. It felt like the whole world had turned chaotic with the danger so close. "Guys, hurry!" he urged, turning the lock. The metal felt cold against his sweaty palm. Rex remained alert, ears perked, ready for anything. The sound of footsteps grew louder, movement inches away from their sanctuary. Mike glanced at Lily, her small face pale and terrified, but she nodded slightly, her bravery igniting a flicker of courage in him. They pried the window open, revealing the darkening sky outside. The street was chaotic, shadows darting under the dimming light. "Lily, go first," he instructed, hoping she could make it through quickly. "I don't want to leave you," she protested, gripping his hand tighter. "I'll be right behind you." "Trust me," Mike insisted, forcing a reassuring smile. She hesitated but finally scrambled up to the sill. He boosted her, eyes locked on hers. "Hold on tight to Rex," he called out. She nodded, and in one fluid motion, she was through the opening, landing softly on the damp grass below. Anxiety churned in Mike's stomach as he flung himself up next, the noise at the door now drowning out everything else that he slipped through just in time to hit the ground running. Rex followed, his powerful body thudding into the grass. They were outside, but the danger was far from over. The sudden memory of the masked figure surged back, the flash of their rushing silhouette, a threat that loomed over them no matter where they went. "What now?" Lily gasped, scanning the street. Mike realized they had to keep moving, stay ahead of whatever was chasing them. "We need to find a safe place to hide, just until we figure this out. Let us go." They took off down the street, heartbeats pounding in sync, fear propelling them forward. The night air was cool against their flushed skin, but he could still feel the raw heat of panic. As they rounded a corner, a flicker of hope lit inside him. The community center wasn't too far. "Over there." He pointed, breathless, but before they could reach it, the terrifying sound of footsteps echoed behind them, growing ever closer. Mike's heart sank as he realized they weren't just running from one threat, they were running into uncharted danger. As the shadows loomed larger, one thing became clear: they weren't just trying to survive. They were racing against time, and the darkness creeping behind them had its own agenda. What was waiting for them at the community center? Would it be a place of refuge or something far more sinister? The community center loomed ahead, its silhouette stark against the dimming sky. Mike pushed through the heavy air, the pounding footsteps behind them echoing like a heart in his ears. His legs felt heavy, each step a struggle, but the thought of Lily kept him moving. "Faster," he urged, glancing over his shoulder. The shadows were gaining ground, and Mike's stomach twisted in fear of what might happen if they were caught. He could see the glass doors of the center reflecting the last light of day, a beacon that promised safety. "Here!" Lily shouted, rushing ahead with Rex hot on her heels. Mike reached for the door just as a wild clang erupted behind them. The barricade they'd built came crashing down, and panic surged through him. They had mere moments. With a frantic shove, the glass doors swung open, and they stumbled inside, breathless. The lobby felt surreal in the stark overhead lights. Empty, save for a few chairs and a musty smell of old wood. Mike slammed the door shut behind them, locking it with trembling fingers just as shadows flitted past the windows. "Is it safe?" Lily's question cut through the tension. She clutched Rex close, the dog panting at her side, instinctively protective. "For now," Mike said, but the word "safe" felt like a lie teetering on his lips. The shadows outside were restless, like wolves circling their den. "Look!" Lily pointed to a hallway leading deeper into the building. "We should check it out." "I don't know if that's a good idea, please. There might be someone here who can help." Mike paused. He knew she was right, they needed to find someone. But every instinct in him screamed to stay put, to wait and hide. "All right, but we stick together." They crept down the hallway, the silence wrapping around them like a blanket. Every crunch of their footsteps felt amplified, a reminder of the danger that lurked outside. The walls were lined with photographs of community events, smiling faces, laughter frozen in time. It made the fear feel all the more surreal. Suddenly, Rex stopped, his ears perked, body tense. Mike's heart raced as he glanced at the dog. "What is it, boy?" Rex sniffed the air, then bolted down the hallway, ears alert. Mike hesitated, torn between fear and instinct. "Wait!" he called, trying to catch up. Lily followed closely behind, her small hands trembling. "What's happening?" "Rex knows something," Mike said. Realization struck him like a bolt of lightning. If Rex sensed danger, they needed to trust him. They rounded a corner and stumbled into a large room filled with rows of chairs. It felt abandoned, but then a low whimper echoed through the space. Mike's pulse quickened as he scanned the room, heart in his throat. The sound came again, and he followed it, moving cautiously toward the source. In the corner, hidden behind a stack of chairs, he saw a small bundle of fur and a pair of terrified eyes, a puppy, trembling and alone. Without thinking, Mike knelt down to the little creature, instinctively reaching out. "Hey there, buddy," he whispered. "It's okay. You're safe now." The puppy sniffed cautiously at his hand, and Mike felt a swell of something deeper than fear. A connection. But before he could scoop the pup into his arms, an ear-splitting crash came from the front of the building. The door splintered as something banged against it, and adrenaline surged through Mike. "We have to move," he shouted, snatching up the trembling pup. "Where?" Lily cried, panic rising. "Back to the lobby. We'll find another way out." They sprinted back, Rex leading the way, the puppy snug in Mike's grasp. But as they reached the lobby, a figure emerged from the shadows, a sense of recognition hitting Mike hard. The figure was more menacing than he anticipated. The mask from earlier, the shape, it all clicked into place. "Stay behind me, Lily," he shouted, heart pounding fiercely in his chest. Would they be able to escape again, or was this the moment everything changed? With shadows closing in, Mike braced for whatever was to come. The figure stepped forward, the dim light revealing the glint of metal. Mike's breath caught as he recognized the silhouette, the officer who had been patrolling their neighborhood earlier. But something was off. The mask concealed his eyes, the posture aggressive. "Step away from the kids." The voice was gravelly, and it sent a shiver down Mike's spine. "Wait. We're not," Mike stammered, stumbling over his words. He took a step back, keeping Lily close behind him. Rex growled low, a protective front that seemed to fill the space between them and this unknown threat. "Stay calm," the officer demanded, but there was an edge to his tone that spoke of danger lurking beneath the surface. "What are you doing here?" We need to find safety," Mike said, raising his hand slightly in a placating gesture. The puppy squirmed in his grip, an innocent plea driving through the tension. "Safety? In a place like this?" The officer stepped closer, and the edges of his words crisped like burnt edges of paper. "You have no idea what you're." A loud crash from outside cut him off, echoing through the hallways before another voice joined in the chaos. "Mike! Lily!" Mike's heart raced as he recognized the voice. "Sarah, from their school." Panic surged anew. "Sarah!" he shouted back, urgency pulling him toward the sound. "Get down!" The officer's warning cut through Mike's instinct to run. With a swift move, Mike ducked, pulling Lily down with him. The puppy yelped, getting tangled in the chaos of bodies as a heavy crash resounded once more, making the very foundation of the center tremble. Chairs toppled over like dominoes, and Mike felt the ground shake under them. "Rex!" Mike yelled, spotting the dog darting back toward the shadows, barking furiously. It was as if Rex was trying to protect something. It was his only instinct. "They're coming!" The officer shouted, urgency making his voice sharper. "We need to barricade the door." "Why should we trust you?" Mike shot back, fury flaring again. Every muscle in him tightened, ready to defend Lily and the little puppy still cradled in his arms. "Because if they get through, we'll all be dead." He was breathing heavily, and the weight of his words hung in the air like a threat. Without a second thought, Mike jumped up, rushing to help the officer push a heavy table against the door. Lily scrambled beside him, her small hands shaking but determined. "We have to hurry." As they strained to get the table in place, the door rattled violently. Something growled from the other side, a snarling echo that froze the blood in Mike's veins. "Hold it. Don't let them break through." The officer grunted, his eyes wild with adrenaline. Just then, a soft whimper broke through the noise, drawing Mike's attention back to the puppy still cuddled in his arms. "Shoo, it's okay," he cooed, trying to soothe them both as terror pinned him to the ground. "Lily! Keep Rex close!" he shouted, desperate to shield them from the danger creeping ever closer. But in that moment, amidst the panic and uncertainty, he realized something was shifting. The officer wasn't just a threat, his eyes showed fear, the same kind Mike held. "Please, help us," Mike dared to say, voice trembling. "There's no time." The officer hesitated, then nodded once, almost imperceptibly. "Then let us hold them back." Their makeshift barricade groaned under pressure as Mike pushed with every ounce of strength, but deep down, he knew the real battle was just beginning. "Mike," Lily whispered, her voice all small and squeaky, as she glanced over at the doorway. "What if they get in?" He swallowed hard, searching the faces around him for strength. "Then we fight together." But as the next wave of thuds echoed, reverberating through the walls like a heartbeat, he couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to unravel. With shadows closing in quicker than his heart could race, Mike braced himself for whatever darkness awaited. What lay beyond that door? Were they ready to confront it together, or would this be the moment that defined them all? The echoes of chaos roared like a wild storm crashing against the walls of the community center. Mike's heart pounded. Each bang on the door screamed that time was running out. "Stay close, Lily," he urged, fueled by adrenaline. The puppy in his grasp trembled, sensing the danger. Rex was on high alert. The loyal German shepherd paced, muscles taut, ready to leap into action. There was a sense of unity in these moments, their tight circle of defense, filled with fear but also the will to protect. "We can't give up," Mike shouted, each word sharp as he continued to push against the table, sealing their last line of defense. Then, in that perilous silence between crashes, hope sparked anew. A sudden beam of light burst through the shattered windows, illuminating the space. Outside his community, familiar faces gathered, rallying together as a formidable force of hope. "Police are here," shouted a voice that carried above the fray. It was Officer Jameson, one of the town's beloved cops, waving his hands, rallying support. "Everyone, stay back," the warning echoed. "We're coming in." There was a moment of frantic panic before the crowd surged toward the door, ready to fight alongside Mike. "Help is here," Mike cried out, a buoy of relief washing over him. Spiraling dread melted away, swapped by fierce intention. He moved aside, ready to let the guardians of justice rush in, ready to confront the murky threat looming within. Just then, the door buckled and crashed off its hinges. Shadows pressed in, but the community's resilience surged forward. "Rex!" Mike commanded as the dog lunged into the fray, fierce protectiveness ignited in his every muscle. "Behind us, Mike!" Officer Jameson yelled, dashing forward. The figures behind the door scrambled, their advantage swelling against the sudden flood of community spirit. Mike and Lily exchanged glances, a flicker of fear stayed, but it held something else too. "This is our chance," Mike whispered. "Let us go." He scooped up Lily, balancing both her and the puppy carefully, instinctively trusting Rex to lead them through the chaos. Together, they slipped past the officer who helped barricade, tearing through the crowd that now surged toward the attackers. Faces filled with determination framed Mike's view, friends, neighbors, all bound by the urgency of the moment, intertwining in a united front against the darkness. As they rushed toward the nearest exit, Mike's resolve solidified. They weren't just surviving, they were a community ready to inspire change, ready to reclaim their safety. "Keep moving, sweetheart," he urged, their feet pounding against the floor as they burst into the night air. Once outside, relief flooded over them, but the battle wasn't over. The chaos had pulled back, and now the officer and the community rallied against the shadowy figures who still lurked, now cornered, shrouded in disbelief. "They're trapped," Lily exclaimed, pointing behind them. Mike turned to see the figures, the threat that had infiltrated their world, now faced with a united front of brave souls. Hope ignited. Together. Officer Jameson rallied, and it was as if the night itself echoed the command. Rex barked in agreement, an unwavering sentinel at Mike's side. "What comes now?" Mike asked, glancing at the scene unfolding. The shadows hesitated, confusion on their faces, caught off guard by the unyielding strength of the community. In that moment, something profound shifted. The fear funneling tightly inside Mike relaxed, possibilities unfurling. "We're a family here," he proclaimed, loud enough for everyone to hear. "And we protect our own." Voices roared in agreement. Without instructions, the people of the town surged forward, the resolve of familial bonds locking them together in solidarity. Shadows dissipated against the stark light of resilience. "Take that route." Officer Jameson commanded again, directing the crowd to encircle the figures. Determined eyes dashed with rage met unyielding, dark gazes, the sense of power shifting dramatically. Mike felt a swell of strength as Lily's grip on his arm tightened. "We did it, Daddy!" she exclaimed, eyes wide with admiration, for that breathtaking moment, amidst the potential for chaos, love conquered fear. Each heartbeat echoed unity, they stood tall against anything that wished to destroy their harmony. As the figures faltered against the power of the town's bonds, Mike felt everything come full circle. He wasn't just responsible for Lily's safety, but for offering hope, love, and a future. Hand in hand, they stood with Rex, the puppy now calm in his embrace. Together, he whispered, a prayer of gratitude for the community. They faced the darkness not as individuals, but as a family wrapped tightly in one another's strength. With one powerful charge, they stepped forward, hearts ignited, ready to reclaim their space under the night sky, united as a testament to the light against encroaching shadows. And as laughter slowly returned and joy began to bloom over the remnants of fear, Mike knew he would forever guard that warmth in the heart of the community. Now, as you step into your own lives, remember the strength we hold when united. Don't wait not even one more second. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss our next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep this momentum of hope powering forward. Comment your reactions and feelings about this ending. You need to share your thoughts. And most importantly, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Your support is vital, and only true fans know its importance. Let us build a brighter story together.